Level 1. The script, Kitty. You're 16 years old. You are staring at your laptop screen at 1 a.m. You press enter. You just ran your first attack. You downloaded some code. You pointed it somewhere. You hit enter. You didn't write a single line of it. You don't know what half of it does. You just know it works. Somewhere, right now, someone else gets paid for it. The person who wrote the code you just ran gets a cut every time it runs. Doesn't matter if it works. Doesn't matter if you get caught. You are the bottom of a supply chain. You don't know that yet. Your laptop is the same one you do homework on. No VPN. Your real IP address, wide open, the whole time. You've never once thought about that. You pick a username for tonight. Something quick, almost funny. You don't think about it twice. You'll be using it for years. You take a screenshot. You post it on a server with 40 people in it. The reactions come in fast. Fire emojis, skull emojis. It feels like something. You call yourself a hacker. You can't write a single line of code. Your mom asks what you're doing up so late. You say homework. She believes you mostly because you've never given her a reason not to. Most investigations don't start with the person running the whole operation. They start with someone like you, a bored teenager, your own laptop, your own IP address, your own name, one lookup away. You've never had a reason to hide any of it. You post the same screenshot on a bigger server, real handles, real history. Nothing happens. It's just silent. No fire emojis this time. You get a reply. Script Kitty, come back when you write your own. You stare at the reply. You don't type anything back. It doesn't hurt because you got caught. It hurts because a real hacker looked at you and decided you're not worth noticing. You open a search bar. You type something slower this time. How does this actually work? You decide to stop running other people's scripts. You decide to understand them. Level 2. The Apprentice. You don't post anything for a while. Instead, you start learning how exploits work. You read documentation and old forum write-ups. Most of it makes no sense right now. You read it anyway. One idea keeps showing up. Keep your real life separate from what you do at night. You don't fully understand that yet. You spend time preparing. Now, you boot a different operating system off a USB instead of installing it. You use a VPN. Your mom checks in most nights, asking how it's going. You give her a shorter answer every time she does. Your evenings used to look different. You'd finish homework, then spend an hour messaging friends. Now, homework gets rushed or even skipped. Messages go unanswered. Your friend group has an inside joke you don't get anymore because you weren't there when it started. You spend hours on practice labs, reading old write-ups, failing the same exploit over and over. You fail it, read the error, and try again. Your grades slip that semester. Nobody connects it to anything. You barely notice it yourself. You're somewhere else most of the time now, even in the classroom. On your 5th attempt, a payload lands. A shell prompt appears. You built that, line by line. You understand every part of it. You find a live server, an outdated login page, a vulnerability you recognize. You write the exploit yourself this time, from scratch. It works on the first try. You're inside, but you don't touch anything. You just sit there, looking at access you shouldn't have. You prove something to yourself. There's no one to show it to. You close the connection. You don't tell anyone. You post a write-up instead. Real work this time, explained properly. Same username you picked without thinking. A reply lands. A real question. From a handle with years of history behind it. Someone just treated you like you belonged. Underneath it, a private message. An invite to somewhere your browser can't normally reach. You click it. You're about to learn that reputation is the only thing that's actually for sale. Level 3. The forum member. The invite doesn't let you in anywhere. It gives you a challenge instead. A recently discovered vulnerability, unpatched, and a blank submission box. You spend 2 days on it. You submit a working exploit. You wait for 6 hours for a reply. Then a single word. Approved. You have a profile now. 0 reputation. None of what you built before means anything here. You buy a used laptop from someone who doesn't ask questions. You pay in cash. You only open the Tor browser on it. A burner email that doesn't touch your real name. You set up encrypted messaging the way the forum expects. You set up a wallet for cryptocurrency. You write the recovery phrase down on paper, not your phone or the laptop. You are cautious about leaving a trail behind. Your room changes. The blackout curtains stay down permanently. A second monitor. Cables run along the wall instead of tangled across the floor. You read listings instead of posting. RDP access, sorted by privilege level, marked clean if the antivirus is already handled, sorted credential dumps for full identity packages, or raw combo lists for anyone. You buy your first access for $50. You check it yourself before reselling. Privilege level, event logs, whether someone's already been caught inside. You find a backdoor that isn't yours. Someone sold this box before you, maybe twice. You clean it. You relist it as verified, single owner. You sell it for $150. The margin isn't why you do the extra work. You start offering verification as a service, checking other people's listings before they post, catching what's fake or already burned. You take a small cut. You're not trading anymore. You're becoming infrastructure other people rely on. Your username is starting to mean something now. The one you picked without thinking months ago. You catch yourself checking your own reputation score the way you check notifications. At dinner, your mother asks what you've been working on. You say a coding project, which isn't a lie. She asks if it's for school. You nod. You've gotten better at giving answers that are technically true. Upstairs, the laptop's still open. The forum doesn't pause for dinner. Someone tries to scam you, sells you access that's already flagged. You post proof in a dispute thread with logs, timestamps, and screenshots. The panel rules in your favor. The seller's reputation gets wiped permanently. You watch a career end over a bad transaction, all done without any police involved. You get a message from a handle several tiers above yours. It's a question about your verification method. They've been reading your write-ups. The message ends with an invite to a private channel, one tier up, where access isn't sold retail anymore. Level 4, the access broker. You're in the private channel now. There are no $50 listings here. Access is sold wholesale, in batches, to buyers who don't check it themselves. They're paying for your reputation. You're a seller now. You need infrastructure that doesn't sleep. You rent a server, cheap, the first host that takes crypto without asking questions. 3 days later, it's gone, seized or shut down. You lose the scans, the setup time, a week of progress. You decide to research instead of rushing it. You find hosts that take crypto, registered somewhere that won't hand you over if anyone comes looking. It costs more, but it's worth it. You set up scanning across entire IP ranges. You find exposed remote desktop ports, unpatched VPN endpoints, cloud storage left open by mistake. You configure it once. It runs while you sleep, and now, while you're somewhere else entirely. You rent a small room, paid in cash each month. It's 20 minutes from home. You tell your mother it's a study space. You do study here, just not anything with a textbook. You wake up to hits, dozens of them. Most are nothing. A home router, a dead server, a honeypot set up to waste your time. Some aren't nothing. You check company size, employee count, what kind of data sits behind the door you just found. A logistics company's domain admin access is worth a lot. You write the listing like a business proposal, with sector, estimated revenue, and access level, a starting bid, and a blitz price for anyone who wants it now. A buyer messages you mid-auction, asking what the company actually does. You give them the information. You don't ask what they plan to do with it. You've built a rule for yourself. You don't ask questions. Your cousin's engagement dinner is on the same night as a listing you're finalizing. Your mom calls to ask if you're coming. You tell her you'll try. You know you won't. Later, she sends you one photo from the dinner, just one, with no message attached. You post a listing for a company almost nobody's heard of. The starting bid is a few $1,000s. You don't check their revenue first. The company made $3.4 billion last year. You sold the door to it for less than a used car. Someone in the channel brings up splitting handles. One identity for the low-stakes work, a clean one for anything bigger. You think about it, but you remember what your name is worth here now. You keep the one you have. A regular buyer messages you, bought from you 3 or 4 times now. They want an arrangement, Fixed price per listing, no auction, first look at everything you find, exclusivity. It sounds like a promotion. It is a promotion. They mention what they do with what you sell them. They want to encrypt it, then wait and negotiate it. You've heard the word before, somewhere in the background of this world. This is the first time someone said it to you directly. They ask if you're in. Level 5, the RAAS affiliate. You move out of the room. You find a small one-bedroom, your name on the lease this time. You don't buy furniture beyond what you need. A desk. A chair that's actually good because you sit in it 12 hours a day. A mattress on a frame, nothing on the walls. The money's real now. You just don't know what you're saving it for. You accept the offer from before. You don't bid on access anymore. You're a supplier now. You get paid on a schedule, whether or not you have to hunt for anything yourself. Your buyer sends you credentials, not source code, a portal, a dashboard, a target upload field, encryption settings, a pre-built ransomware editor. You don't write code anymore. You license it. You get your first real payout in cryptocurrency. You convert too much of it at once through one exchange on the same day. Something flags it. Your withdrawal freezes for 6 hours. Nothing comes of it. You never make that mistake again. You learn to move smaller amounts, spread across time, through wallets that don't talk to each other. You buy a hardware wallet for anything you're not touching soon. Small, physical, kept somewhere, only you know. You upload access to a network, some of it yours, some bought from other brokers. Now that you're moving faster than you can find targets alone, you move laterally first. You spread through compromised credentials, then to as many machines as you can reach before anyone notices. You schedule the encryption for 3 a.m. Nobody's watching a network at that time. You press the command, you close the laptop. Everything after this happens through the portal, a countdown timer, a chat box, a payment address. You don't write the negotiation yourself. You use templates and tested phrases. You follow a script written by someone who's done this hundreds of times before. Mid-negotiation, you spot a message that doesn't match the script. Someone's asking you something no template accounts for. You send the next scripted line anyway. Payment clears 3 days later. Your cut lands in your wallet. 20 to 30%, same as always. You start calling yourself an entrepreneur. You don't think about the message that didn't match the script. You've gotten good at not thinking about it. One day you read that another seller on the same platform got arrested. Before you read anything else, you search your own handle against every leaked chat log. Nothing comes back. You breathe out. You notice something else. The person who wrote the software you're using takes 70 to 80% of every payment. You do the math. Same risk, different cut. You start looking at what it would take to stop renting someone else's platform. You decide it's time to build your own. Level 6, the gang operator. You leave your rented apartment and move to a different country, one that doesn't extradite. You don't tell anyone back home where before you go. Your new place doesn't look like much. You keep it that way on purpose. Nothing that draws attention, nothing a neighbor would remember. You've optimized to be invisible. You fork an existing code base. You don't write this from scratch anymore. You modify it. You build a portal, the same kind you used to log into. Except this one is yours. You rent your own infrastructure now. Hosting you chose yourself. You find a jurisdiction that doesn't ask questions, paid in a way that doesn't trace back. You set the rules other people follow to work with you. Encrypted drives, compartmentalized access. Nobody sees the whole operation, the same way nobody ever let you see the whole operation, back when you were the one being vetted. One of your affiliates gets sloppy, reuses infrastructure across 2 jobs, something you told everyone not to do. You find out before anyone else does. You cut them loose. It's the same rule you learned from someone else. You're just enforcing it now. You open an affiliate program. You vet applicants the way you were vetted once. Proof of skill, reputation history, references. You're on the other side of the gate now. You take 70 to 80% of every ransom your affiliates collect. Your days stop looking technical. You update the malware's evasion methods based on what got flagged last week. You manage a leak site. You settle disputes between affiliates. You decide payout timing, less terminal work, more spreadsheets, more messages. One of your affiliates hits a hospital. Bad press starts moving fast. You make a decision. You issue a free decryption key. It isn't goodwill, it's a business decision, dressed as one. And you know exactly which is which while you write it. Some victims don't know how to buy cryptocurrency. You've solved that too. You run a support line. You have staff who call victims, sound like technical support. They walk them through paying you back, step by step. You give interviews sometimes, under a name built specifically to not exist anywhere else. You answer questions from journalists. You taunt researchers online. Somewhere in a draft you never send, you consider retiring your original handle, the one you picked years ago without thinking. It doesn't fit who you are now. You keep it anyway. You tell yourself it's superstition. You think of yourself as a businessman, a platform operator. You have terms of service, an affiliate program, a support team. You check your dashboard one morning. Something's there that shouldn't be. Level 7, the fugitive. You count the cash left in the bag. Enough for maybe 6 weeks if you're careful. You've never had to be careful with money before. You are now. You buy a used phone with cash from someone who doesn't ask your name. It has no personal information on it. You'll leave it behind when you move cities. You know which stores run facial recognition at the door. You cross the street before you reach them. It's second nature now, the same way you used to check a listing's privilege level without thinking. It started when a different operation got its servers seized. Somewhere in what investigators pulled off those drives, a payment trail led sideways instead of down, toward an old account, an old recovery email, a handle you picked without thinking when you were 16. The trail found you the same way you'd have found anyone else. You know exactly how thorough that kind of tracing is. You built infrastructure to survive it. You never built anything to survive it from this side. You spot a car outside your building 2 mornings in a row, engine running, nobody getting out. You don't wait for a third morning. You're gone within the hour. The same instinct you once used to cut an affiliate loose the moment they got sloppy. You book rooms, not hotels. You pay cash. You don't have an alias anymore. You don't do interviews. All of it useless now. All of it is a liability the second anyone connects it to a face. You think about calling your mom, but you don't. Not because you don't want to, because anyone tracing you is tracing her too. Your old habits kick in sometimes. You check a login you don't have anymore. A dashboard that isn't yours. You keep moving anyway. You don't have a destination. Away is the only direction that matters. You used to think the ceiling was something you could eventually reach. There was no ceiling. There was only the fall. You're still falling, right now, tonight. You were never at the bottom of the supply chain. You were never as close to the top as you thought, either. You were just never in a position to see either end of it. Subscribe to PrimePOV to watch more videos like this about secret lives, hierarchies, and institutions.